Dory, thank you. It's one of the greatest entrances in all of college football. This is Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina, home of the Gamecocks. And here comes South Carolina. Welcome to SEC Saturday night. Kentucky's looking for its 6th consecutive win in the series against South Carolina. It has turned into the most underrated series in the Southeastern Conference. And two teams in desperate times. Welcome, everybody. Tom Hart alongside Jordan Rogers. Moments ago, the Gamecocks came out of the corner. Figuratively and literally, they're in a corner, because this is a team that's facing a must-win situation. They'll only be favored in 3 more games after this one.
Yeah, Tom, you know you can never plan for losing a 3-year starter at quarterback, the face of your program. So South Carolina right now is trying to figure out who they are, and I think on the offensive side of the ball, they're searching for their identity. At times against Alabama, they looked good, but with a young quarterback in Ryan Hilinski, who struggled last week, they got to figure out what he does best. And they got to figure it out in a hurry, because down the road, it doesn't get any easier.
No, 4 ranked teams that are all monsters on that schedule, with only one of them coming here. Then there's Kentucky. And who would have thought that Kentucky would have been able to reload and get ready after a historical season last year? One key, the versatile Lynn Bowden.
Absolutely. I think this is the most talented Kentucky roster on the offensive side of the football that I've seen in a really long time. Definitely under Stoops here at Kentucky, but this guy, Lynn Bowden, is as dynamic a player as there is in the SEC. You're going to see him do it from a million different positions. In the slot, they're going to move him around as much as possible to find ways to get him the football. They're going to hand it off to him. He's going to line up in Wildcat. As many touches as Lynn Bowden can get, that's going to tell you how successful this Kentucky offense is. It's going to run through him tonight.
And we'll see how many chances he has at the quarterback position. Bowden, as versatile as it gets. UK won the toss. They've deferred. South Carolina will receive. And Cole Cubelic, we'll see a monster matchup up front when Kentucky has the ball.
But I tell you what, we are in for a heavyweight title fight in the trenches tonight, Tom. Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle for South Carolina, against Logan Stenberg, offensive guard for the Kentucky Wildcats. I think Stenberg's been the best guard in the SEC this season. Kinlaw has been one of the best defensive linemen in the nation. 16% body fat, 6'7", 298 pounds, 16% body fat. He's going to show us tonight why he's going to probably end up being the first-round draft pick.
And he has developed into that first-round talent. Sit back, enjoy. This is Williams-Brice. Mark Stoops and his Cats looking for a bounce-back win. He said, we're still learning the identity of this team and who will be a leader. Grant McInnes will get us started. Shi Smith back to receive for South Carolina. Welcome to SEC Saturday night. Both of these teams lost their starting quarterbacks early in the season. They're each down to their 2nd-string man. For South Carolina, it's a freshman out of Orange, California, Ryan Hilinski. He comes from a family of quarterbacks, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 2 very different game plans against both Alabama and Missouri.
And I think it's important early in this game they get Ryan Hilinski some layups, some easy throws. Last week, couple misses early really affected him early in that game, and he didn't recover from it.
Rico Dowdle in the backfield with him. He's got the versatile Brian Edwards split out wide. And on the first play from scrimmage, it'll be a handoff and plenty of room in the running game for South Carolina. Rico Dowdle rips off 15.
And right away, run to the right, which is behind a true freshman right tackle. Jalen Nichols getting the start tonight. Watch that position. Obviously confident enough in him early in this game to run right at him.
Same direction. This time it's snuffed out. And an extra effort will get 4 total. TJ Carter, the first defender there for Kentucky. Yusuf Corker cleans it up on the back end. Both of these teams defensively looking for more consistency from their defensive lines. Helinski to the out route. And Kyle Markway was out of bounds, incomplete.
Incomplete, but I love this already. 5-wide formation. Lets Ryan Helinski, the quarterback for South Carolina, sort everything out, see spacing, find out where his best option is. That's what we saw against Alabama. Didn't see that a ton last week against Missouri, and he really struggled. So I expect to see a lot more of that, and already here on 3rd down come out with 4 wide.
That was Edwards in motion. Helinski finds him, and Brian Edwards takes it to midfield, and it'll be right at the marker. Looks like they're going to spot it as a 1st down before Calvin Taylor got him. And now the near referee had it at a different spot. Far side and near side weren't on the same page. It'll be a yard short almost. And so 4th and a foot, and Helinski quickly under center. And now they'll stop it and take another look. 2 guys whose job it is to spot the ball had differing views on the forward progress.
Is that the runner was short of the 1st down line. That play is under review.
I think it's a good thing there that they didn't run a play that quick. Sometimes you do that thinking let's catch them off guard, but you don't give the booth the time to look at it. We're going to get another look here to see which official was right. Brian Edwards on top of a Kentucky player there. You can see his elbow does go down. So where was the ball when his elbow hits? Because I think that's the first thing that rules him down.
It was a head linesman. Kevin Vickner had the spot shy of the yard to gain. Elbow not down yet until
Right there. See if we can get a yard marker here as he rolls over the Kentucky player right there. I think it's right at about the 50.
Yep, if it's at the 50, that'd be a 1st down.
Yeah, and they have it a few inches behind right now. I'm not sure they're going to get a good enough angle there to say, let's move it up 2 inches, which would be the 1st down.
Stan Murray is our replay official. Lee Hedrick, our referee. Difference in a foot will be the difference in whether or not South Carolina's opening possession continues or if they have to punt it away. Now, let's say the spot doesn't change and they're short. If you're Will Muschamp, you send your offense back out there to try to pick up a foot?
I absolutely would. You're at home. You got this crowd behind you. It's early in the game. Let's get that momentum. Let's get that noise going in a positive way early. And honestly, the best forgotten play, the quarterback sneak. I mean, when it's only a few inches here, I love the quarterback sneak. So if it is short, that'd be my call.
I take another look at that, and I see the elbow down near the 50, but the ball on his hip as opposed to out in front.
See, it's not a perfect angle, but it does look like that ball touches some part of the 50. And right now they have it clearly behind. I'd be confident saying it touches some part of it and move it up a little bit at least.
After review, video evidence shows that the runner made the 1st down line. It will be 1st and 10, South Carolina.
Well, Muschamp hadn't gotten many breaks so far this season. They lost some key players. They had another one who was playing as a starter in the defensive secondary quit the team this week. And he lost his starting quarterback earlier.
There is no charge timeout to South Carolina. Replay notified the crew prior to the timeout. They have 3 timeouts remaining.
Former all-conference defensive back at Georgia, Muschamp could use a few breaks.
Yeah, and in the first situation we have of which ref it is, they went with the right Twix, not the left Twix. And the right Twix had the 1st down.
I was waiting for you to bring that up. Get the bingo card ready. Rico Dowdle again, and he's able to only find one on the right side. Where does South Carolina offensively have an advantage in this game?
Well, I think they have an advantage at the receiver position with Brian Edwards. Now, if you're looking at this offense, where did they struggle last week? Getting Helinski comfortable, getting him easy completions. But as a quarterback, sometimes your best friend to help you out there is running the football effectively. So that's not a good first down play. They got to get the run game going.
Helinski on the rollout, fires a little bit behind Markway. This is a Kentucky secondary that's without 5 defensive backs who were drafted. Starting safety Jordan Griffin will not start this game. Quandre Mosley starts in his spot. It remains to be seen when Griffin will enter and if he's effective as we take a look at the starters.
And this defense is still a work in progress. Talking to Brad White, trying to find their identity, find some pass rushers on the outside. The one consistent is the emotional leader there in the middle, Cash Daniel, playing at a high level. But everything else right now is kind of in flux as to how good they can be and where their talent really is.
They lost their best defensive back, Devontae Robinson, to injury earlier. This one's complete to Tavian Feaster, the Clemson transfer. His former team had a hold on in a white knuckle race with Mack Brown's North Carolina team this afternoon. Here's how South Carolina lines them up.
I already mentioned, really important that Rico Dowdle gets going in this game, and I love South Carolina already pushing the tempo. That'll help with the run game and the play action.
Helinski checks back over the middle. Big gain coming for Shi Smith. It's a pickup of 22 as the opening drive rolls on for Carolina.
This is such a good throw by Ryan Helinski. One thing he does extremely well is throw off platform. He's moving to his left here, which is tough for a quarterback, and he's got a guy in his face. Watch the arm angle. Comes a little bit 3/4 there, has some zip on the ball, and a great, accurate throw.
Offensive coordinator Brian McClendon said we kept all these guys in to help block against Missouri because of the fear of their personnel up front. They didn't have the same fear against Alabama when they opened it up. And they're opening up here on the opening drive. It's a gain of 9 to Shi Smith. Did that surprise you that an offense would fear Missouri's defensive line more than Alabama's?
A little bit, but then you start to watch them on film. Jordan Elliott there for Missouri is no joke. He's a really good defensive lineman. So we're going to see already kind of that this game plan is going to mirror more Alabama. I think South Carolina wants to spread them out a little bit more, use space.
Helinski had a magnificent day against the Tide. Hands it off. Beautiful cutback. And down to the 2 goes Feaster after a pickup of 5. And South Carolina now knocking on the door with 1st and goal.
Out of hands on hips early for this Kentucky defensive line, fellas.
And that's one thing Mark Stoops mentioned. He tried to change things up this week in practice. Thought last week they got a little bit of a sluggish start against Mississippi State. Attribute that to too much activity in practice. So they cut back a little bit this last week, but you're right, they're gassed early.
Straight ahead, touchdown, South Carolina. Tavian Feaster. Barker White for the point after. It was Feaster who carried it in the end zone, but Smith with 2 big completions for 30 of the 75 yards covered. And South Carolina opens the scoring with an opening drive touchdown. Of the 75 yards in the last drive came from Ryan Helinski's arm, but great balance overall for South Carolina.
And that's what South Carolina wanted to do, come into this game, establish the run, and what does that do? Opens up the play action, a picture-perfect drive for Brian McClendon, the offensive coordinator for South Carolina. Did it on the ground and through the air.
Didn't know there was a need for shade at night, but it was hot today in the Mid-State. Then Bowden back to receive off the foot of Will Tommy, and Bowden will let it carry. Kentucky's quarterback situation has turned into one of the great tales of college football. Sawyer Smith was headed to Kentucky essentially to start his coaching career. An opportunity opened up, and now he's thinking, why not keep playing football? The junior from just outside of Pensacola was a great baseball player in high school, ended up at Troy under Neil Brown, and now a grad transfer and on the road in the SEC. Here's Asim Rose. Nothing doing. I know it was loud last week in Starkville, but this place is a little bit different.
Oh, yeah. I've played here. You don't want to get behind early in games because this crowd will start to take over. So an important first drive for Kentucky to get things going in the right direction.
They've had all day to get hydrated. Trips to the right for Smith. They'll call it 2nd and 9, and he finds Bowden. Bowden working against the zone is able to pick up a first down on 13.
That's just a great little RPO. Linebacker bites up. Lynn Bowden just on a little search route. Great job by Sawyer Smith identifying that early. Those RPOs are great early in the game because most of the time defenses aren't really ready for it yet. They're playing the run hard, and that's when you can get the pass right behind them.
Opening drive for Kentucky. It's Rose, and Rose is immediately swallowed up. Rick Sandage was right there alongside Sherrod Green. It's a loss of 3.
And Green may have finished that one off, but I tell you what, Javon Kinlaw is a force in between the tackles. Look at him driving Drake Jackson, the center, back into the play, and that's what really made that play. Yeah, Green had the tackle, but Javon Kinlaw driving the center gave A.J. Rose no room.
Carolina shows corner blitz from J.C. Horn. They bring him tentatively, and Kentucky couldn't find much against it with the run, and they'll be left with 3rd and 10 after the tackle by Ernest Jones.
And what you're going to see out of this South Carolina defense, maybe a little different than normal game plans. They like a lot of man coverage, but in this game, a lot more quarters, a lot more zone, and zone pressure off that.
3rd down 9. Smith flushed, floats it, intercepted by Ernest Jones. South Carolina's got the lead and the ball. Sawyer Smith tried to float it over the top of Jones. Ends up in his gloves.
SEC Saturday Night is brought to you by Zaxby's. Hand-breaded chicken and fresh ingredients made to order. Only at Zaxby's.
Well, we've talked about these teams trying to find their identity a third of the way through the season. And for quarterback Ryan Hilinski, it's also trying to find how he can be the most efficient. And what a difference in the last 2 games for the Carolina quarterback.
Just night and day, and it starts with easy throws, like I call layup throws early in the game. Sometimes it's not that the talent's not there, it's not that the scheme's not right. Quarterbacks play between the ears. If you can get some confidence early in the game, really translates the rest of the game.
That's Feaster in motion. Hilinski steps up and fires one incomplete. He was looking for Brian Edwards, who was bracketed by a pair of cats, Eccles and Corker.
That's just a great job there by Kentucky. It's a green dog, which means linebacker's not originally supposed to blitz, but you're going to see Cash Daniels delay. Running back starts to block, so he goes after the quarterback, and that's what causes the errant throw.
Ryan Hilinski going into that Missouri game missed some time during the week. Those were costly reps within the game plan that he missed out on. Flagging the play. Dowdle with a spin to midfield. They'll mark him at the 49. Quinn Bohanna Number 95 for Kentucky was offside. Lee Hedrick, our referee. It's a Kentucky team that has seen a lot of mistakes from their upperclassmen this season.
Offside on the defense, number 26. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay, second down.
And pardon me, that was Brandon Eccles, the cornerback, who was offsides.
Yeah, you mentioned it. I think it's, you have so many guys leave for the NFL that were mainstays, especially on this defense. And guys that are players this year now, they're not used to having that spotlight and that pressure. And so when you struggle, you start to push, you start to do things out of the scheme. You start to let your emotions get the best of you. I think that's what we're seeing.
Kentucky may have been offside again there, but the flag wasn't thrown. Dowdle picks up a first down. It looked like Jordan Wright on the near side was lined up past the ball.
Tell you what, impressive early. The gap schemes for South Carolina are moving this Kentucky defensive front that is huge. I mean, Quinton Bohanna that we mentioned earlier, he's 360. They got a couple other guys north of 350 on that defensive line that are getting pushed around right now by double teams from this offensive line for South Carolina.
Leggett in motion. They'll go straight ahead. Dowdle finding room once again. Boogie Watson with the tackle after a gain of 4.
I think the most impressive part for me so far in this South Carolina plan is just the commitment to stick with the run game. So many times this season we've seen them go with it and then quickly get away from it.
What's this offensive line built for, Cole?
Well, I think now when you have a true freshman at right tackle, you can't ask him to just sit there by himself in pass protection, so they should be better in the run game.
Second down, 6. Helinski has it batted and nearly picked. Missed opportunity for Quandre Mosley getting a start at strong safety.
It's a great job by Kentucky there to identify where Brian Edwards is. He's going to lead you to the ball more often than not. South Carolina wants to get him a lot of touches. And Mosley, great job there of not having a defender, so getting hands up in the passing lane.
South Carolina converted a pair of third downs on their opening drive. That led to a score.
Brian Edwards right here in man-to-man coverage at the top of your screen.
He's got Brandon Eccles across from him. Helinski going for a screen. Feaster is able to haul it in, but no gain. Parker White, their kicker, has a long of 48. This would be a 57-yarder. And they're going to bring in Joseph Charlton to try to pin Kentucky inside the 10.
Wow.
And anytime you put the ball in Lynn Bowden's hands, you're gambling.
I'm not so sure, kind of in no man's land here, that this wouldn't be a either go for it or I don't know. I mean, you're talking, if you get it inside the 10, it's still only a 30-yard field change. That's if it's a really good punt.
Yeah, and you're talking about a net 10-yard difference if you get a touchback.
Yeah.
Well, Muschamp, defensive-minded coach, obviously with his background, and Travaris Robinson, his defensive coordinator.
Delay of game on the offense, number 20. 5-yard penalty remains, 4th down.
They should be a better defensive team. They are not, and the weak link early has been in the secondary, and it's driven both Travaris Robinson and Will Muschamp absolutely crazy.
Yeah, those are two guys that pride themselves on defensive play, especially on the back end. So
this one inside the 5, and South Carolina is going to down it at the 2.
See, I told you. When
yes.
You can put it inside the 5, of course you're going to punt it.
That was a beauty for Parker Wright at Owando High School. Mount Pleasant stand up. Special teams going Carolina's way early. Fantastic show if you haven't seen it. Kentucky's got a long way to go here after that beautiful punt. Grad transfer Sawyer Smith at quarterback. Kavase Smoke in a running back. And Smoke takes it for a gain of 4. You know, go back a couple years. Last time Kentucky was in this building, they opened with a scoring strike to Deebo Samuel. He took it 68 yards. Then South Carolina got a takeaway. Deebo's in the house tonight, representing the Braves. Like to see that. He's with the Niners now. South Carolina couldn't capitalize on their next possession after the takeaway. Kentucky would come back to win that thing, 23-13. Similar start here. Can Kentucky fashion a similar response? It's Kavashe Smoke again. And T.J. Brunson on the stop. And we've got an injured player, Kobe Smith, for South Carolina, holding his throat, it looked like initially. Or shoulder, pardon me. Reaching up towards the clavicle, not a good sign. And he went down immediately. 5:41 to go in the first quarter. Kentucky will be looking at a third down after this. Jeez. It's not the year of the quarterback, it's the year of the backup in the SEC. Kentucky's converted just one of their last 17 third downs, going back to the Florida game. On 3rd and 3, lob into coverage and incomplete. And the third down struggles continue for this Kentucky team. Josh Ali was covered by J.C. Horn and R.J. Roderick.
Don't love the play call. They're just trying to get a rub route here for Lynn Bowden on a little out route. They're going to sprint the quarterback this direction, but really that's one option. And if Bowden's not there, as he's not in tight man coverage, there's really nowhere else for Sawyer Smith to go with the football there. That was a 1 or nothing. And South Carolina wins that one.
Timeout, South Carolina. That is their first charge timeout of the half. This will be a 30-second timeout.
Kentucky lined up to punt it away in just a moment. And Monday at 7 Eastern, 6 Central, Thinking Out Loud is back for another season with G. Mac and Marcus. We'll break down the weekend on the gridiron, talk about the hottest topics for the coming week right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. You see Marcus getting a mani-pedi with Barkley. That
doesn't surprise me.
That was terrible.
Man, that's terrible. That's really, really bad.
That is good. That was a really good chuck. I like it.
Thanks. You didn't know I had that in the bag.
I did not know. Surprised me every night.
Should we go get mani-pedis then? I mean, that's a thing now?
It's a thing, yeah.
I could use one.
Can I expense that? Max Duffy, the Australian punter on the Ray Guy Award watch list. Best in the country. Brian Edwards had a long way to go to try to get to it. Did it go off of Carolina? If it did, it'll be Kentucky football. The Cats able to jump on it. Darius Rush had it go off of his back somewhere. And a heads-up play to corral it.
Wow. That's unlucky in some way. I mean, that's tough. Debo's yelling. Not Debo. Brian Edwards there is yelling. Probably get away, but...
Yeah, whatever that call is, Peter, poison, poison, poison. You've got to get your cover guys away from that football.
Got him right in the middle of the back, and Brett Slusher with a heads-up play, able to fall on it.
The ruling on the field is that the kick hit a member of the receiving team, recovered by the kicking team. That play is under review.
Shouldn't take long, should it?
They should call us real quick because we got a good look at it right there.
You know, the ball's not going to just change direction like that and hang a hard right down Hugie.
That'd be a lot of English on that ball.
It would be.
You know, it's interesting there. That punt was actually supposed to go to the right. Little rugby punt, half roll to the right. Kentucky coverage was playing that way. A little bit of a miss hit. Ended up working out for Kentucky.
Duffy's been a secret weapon for Kentucky, leading the nation in net yardage. Watch the ball off of number 28's back. Here's the best look.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. First down, Kentucky.
They could see that one from all the way over Hall's Chop House with Tommy Hall running the show. Decent dinner for you last night.
My gosh.
Former ABC college football production assistant.
Yeah, he's much better in the restaurant.
Yes. Stick with what you're good at. Lynn Bowden Jr. is at quarterback. He was a sensational high school quarterback. Did everything back in Youngstown from this position. And he will hand it off to Asim Rose. Kentucky over the years has sliced and diced South Carolina with the Wildcat. Going back to even when Benny Snell was a freshman and sophomore, they were so good at it. Will Muschamp is wild. Obviously, they're prepared for it, but he said what would surprise you is how often they throw out of the Wildcat.
Yeah, when you have a guy like Lynn Bowden that played quarterback in high school, obviously you don't want to throw it 10, 15 times a game with him, but every now and then he's absolutely capable of making you pay, and that forces the defense to play balance. You can't just stack the line of scrimmage in Wildcat.
Warren Harding High School, Youngstown, Ohio. On 2nd and 5, he rips it to the outside, but they have great coverage on Allen Bailey Jr. Israel Mukwamu was there for him.
Great accurate throw there by Bowden. Even though there's no gain there, that changes how the defense has to play that moving forward. They have to account for 2 guys on the outside every time they come out in that formation, and that's going to open up running lanes for Bowden in between the tackles.
It's 3rd and loud again. Sawyer Smith back at quarterback. Smith, quick hitter to Bowden, and he overshot him. Jamie Robinson had the coverage. We got flags down inside the 20.
Might have got Robinson for holding, possibly at the top of the route there for Lynn Bowden. Little RPO, a run pass option. And Sawyer Smith was just a little high with that throw, and there was some contact.
Lee Hedrick.
There is no foul on the play. 4th down.
Seems like an odd flag to pick up.
There was no contact at the top of the route. I'm okay with that. Little wrap around the back. The ball was outstretched. I'm not so sure that that completely hindered Bowden from getting that ball. And Kentucky says, let's roll the dice and leave our offense out there for 4th and 7.
They're 5 of 7 on 4th down this season. Looking for Wagner. Into the tight end, complete, but well short of the sticks. The extra effort won't be enough for Justin Rigg, and South Carolina turns them over on downs. T.J. Brunson, first man there.
You just got to get the route past the sticks here. You're going to try to do a little wheel and stop route here by the tight end, but the tight end just doesn't get far enough downfield. I like the play call, little interference, trying to sell the outside release, maybe turn it upfield, and he just never gets his depth. That route's got to be run past the stick, so you have no chance.
J.C. Horn playing with some confidence. Javon Kinlaw got a shot on Sawyer Smith after that one. Jamie Robinson and Lynn Bowden will make for an interesting matchup throughout the night. Helinski to the outside. This is Brian Edwards. A lot of work just to get back to the line of scrimmage. Helinski wide left on Kyle Markway.
You know, it's throws like that that just show kind of his inexperience and youth in the system. It's not that he's inaccurate. He's actually a very accurate quarterback, but he speeds things up. When he doesn't know where his eyes are supposed to go right away and he sees the opening late, that's when everything speeds up from a mechanical standpoint, and you're going to see those balls sail on him. If he gets his eyes there earlier, he's in rhythm, and he's much more accurate.
8,000 yards and 85 touchdowns at Orange Lutheran. On 3rd down, they're looking for a catch and run from Chavis Dawkins, and he is brought down short. And South Carolina will bring the punting team out.
passes there. I'm kind of surprised that South Carolina got away from the run game there. Obviously, you get behind the sticks, you got to try to catch up, but South Carolina, a lot of success early running the football. I'd like to see him get back to it.
Joseph Charlton to punt it away to Lynn Bowden. Charlton out of AC Flora, just up the road. And they'll get another one inside the 15. Last punt was down at about the 3. That's a 48-yarder. This season, for every field goal and extra point made by participating universities, All-State will make a contribution to the university's General Scholarship Fund. Thank you, All-State. The way Cole Kubelik drives us to the stadium, I hope he has All-State.
We got here on time.
Yeah. We also got here off-road.
And barely
Well,
alive.
you're in a Suburban.
Didn't know we could go off-road downtown Columbia, but we found a way. Asim Rose is the running back for Smith. They want to go to the air. And that one's wide, trying to find Ahmad Wagner, who's been a fantastic weapon for Kentucky this season.
He's a big body, 6'6", 234 pounds. He's a threat in the red zone, but on that play right there, just a little stop route and man coverage on the outside. He ran that at about 11 yards. That's supposed to be 8. So that ball, you might look at that and go, that's a bad throw. That ball was thrown right where that route is supposed to end up.
For a basketball player, is still new to him.
Still learning, absolutely. Something you'll see and you've seen so far this season.
5 wide for Kentucky. There's the hitter. It's Ali. And he takes it for a gain of 7. Did the ball come out? We got a whistle. But the ball in the hands of South Carolina and A.J. Turner. They say the play was dead. Pardon me. That was Ernest Jones, who already has a pick tonight.
Boy, Ernest Jones, Mike linebacker for South Carolina. He is fun to watch him fly around. You can see the knees down. The ball comes out afterwards. He plays with his hair on fire.
Four-man rush. Nobody there. Lynn Bowden was going down Bluff Road. Smith thought he was on Shop.
It's
And
just
they'll have to punt it away.
Just a miscommunication there, similar to the rub route they ran earlier on the 3rd down. But Bowden in this one's got the opportunity to sit up in zone or keep running out in man. It was man coverage. He should have kept running out. That's where Sawyer Smith expected him to go. It's a little miscommunication.
Duffy out of Perth, Australia. And that one down inside the 30, the nation's leader with a 50-yard punt. Marty McGee's coming your way with some twang. Wednesday, 7 Eastern, 6 Central, right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app.
You see the commercial with Marty and Ryan and Muschamp in the middle of the car?
Yes. That song has been in my head all week.
You know, it's great. You watch Muschamp. He is trying so hard not to just bust up laughing. You know, you can tell he's just looking at these guys like, what am I doing?
He fit right in between those two dudes, didn't he?
He did. There's anybody to sit on that bench seat with those two. It's either you or Muschamp.
Yeah, well, the pressure's on Will Muschamp now. Slow start to the season for South Carolina. They lost Jake Bentley, their veteran starting quarterback. How did this offense change, not just with going to a new quarterback, but in terms of the talent of both Bentley versus Helinski?
Really similar from a talent standpoint, but Jake Bentley did so much at the line of scrimmage with protections, with alerts where they call 2 plays in the huddle. I mean, he controlled the game at the line of scrimmage. Now, Ryan Helinski is as talented as Jake Bentley, but a lot of the protection things are still handled by the offensive line, so they're continuing to add some things onto his plate, but they're not able to play as much tempo as they were with Bentley.
Jake Bentley out for the rest of the season. His dad on this staff, as you know, probably is a tight ends coach. Got to be very frustrating. He did not have a great start to the season in the loss to North Carolina. Nice cutback for Tavian Feaster. Back-to-back 4-yard gains for South Carolina.
I got to talk to Jake Bentley down on the field before the game, and you can just tell. I mean, he's a competitor. He's frustrated. He's disappointed with the injury, but he's been working very closely with Ryan Hilinski in the meeting room. Says he's eager to learn, trying to soak up everything he can from Bentley.
We've got an injury on the field here. Let's find out what's going on in the Plains. Back to the studio and Dari.
Well, guys, if you're a Mississippi State fan, it has gotten completely out of hand right now. Bo Nix, 39 yards. Seth Williams, how about 35-9 Auburn? 5.5 to go in the first half. I think they're ready for Florida, guys.
Yeah, Auburn came in with the #1 strength of record in the country, and they may be that elite team that's finally getting the attention they deserve. And sometimes that's hard to get in this league.
Absolutely, but when you have a defensive line like they have, and when you have young talent on the offensive side, you can run the football. That's a formula for success, no matter what the year, no matter who you play in the SEC.
Sophomore Abule Abadi Fitzgerald helped to the sideline. Will Muschamp said there was a bad loss for us at North Carolina. It was a bad loss the way it went down. We didn't perform very well. We had some missed assignments late in that game, and they allowed 15 unanswered. And he said what adds to the stress here
That is the end of the first quarter.
is the old guard that used to South Carolina being in the Atlantic Coast Conference. He said it's still a rivalry to them. Tough loss, and it's got them off to a slow start. Can they hold on to this momentum in this one? We're a quarter way into it, and South Carolina is in front of Kentucky 7-0. It's one of the greatest entrances in all of college football. Straight ahead, touchdown, South Carolina. Well, the way this thing started, it looked like the scoreboard was going to catch fire. Now it's only a 7-0 game. Kentucky's been held at 37 yards of offense and only 1 first down in the first quarter. They continued the struggle on third downs. They're now 1 for their last 21 in that department. Ryan Hilinski and the South Carolina offense. Pump and go, and there was no go. It was more like a pump and shop, and Xavier Legette ends up with the catch.
That's a really good job there by Ryan Hilinski. I think he wanted to try to squeeze that slant route into the slot. Held back and was able to find the open receiver on the outside. He looks much more comfortable already. Watching last week, was not comfortable from the start, inaccurate. Things were moving fast.
First career reception for the freshman from Mullen, South Carolina, Legette. What a decibel difference on third downs. Here's Dowdle, and he stayed on his feet to crawl inside the 30. 20-yard run.
That's a great block by the guard, Donnell Stanley there, number 72. Eating up DeAndre Square to spring that block.
So you mentioned Hilinski looking more comfortable. How does a quarterback get comfortable?
You get some easy completions. Honestly, the quarterback's positions played between the ears. When you're confident, things slow down. You start to see it better. You start to rip throws like that.
And while we were watching film, you said that's a good drop for Hilinski being able to throw on the run.
It's so hard to do throwing on the run to the left as a right-handed quarterback, especially a long throw like this. Look how he has to contort his body. He's got to get his left shoulder all the way around so he can get a lot of power into that because you lose your lower body. Good, accurate throw there to Brian Edwards in the slot.
Kentucky can't afford to lose anybody in the secondary. Already without safety Jordan Griffin. He did not start in this one. And Cedric Dort Jr., the sophomore out of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, is getting attention from the training staff. They lost so many great guys in the secondary last year. And how about the news this week of Lonnie Johnson, who's now in the NFL. Lonnie from Gary, Indiana, paid for the funeral of 14-year-old Curtis Walton, who played football at Calumet High School in Indiana. He was found unresponsive at the bottom of the school's pool after the high school football practice, and they decided to take a dip. And Johnson, the former Cat, said, "I know what it's like to suffer loss at that age. I know what that family's going through." So he reached out and covered the funeral expenses for the family back home in Gary, Indiana. Texans and Lonnie Johnson take on the Chargers this Sunday. First and 10 for South Carolina and Ryan Helinski.
First and 10 for the 16 for the Gamecocks.
Toss to Edwards. That'll be a pass, and Edwards trying to find the corner. Well, South Carolina has been really impressive with extra yardage tonight, whether it's Dowdle or the wide receivers. And Jamar Boogie Watson finally stops Edwards. Tough sledding. This time they give it to Dowdle. The timing was off. He was clipped by Ortre Smith. Dowdle's wondering where that truck came from.
Yeah, you got to let this guy get a little closer. He's got to be out of the way by then. Great awareness by Dowdle. Not many times you got to dodge a black jersey coming at you.
It's not what you expect. Carolina's 3rd and 5 on 3rd down. This is 3rd and 4. And this is Dowdle. Dowdle gets bear hugged after a yard by Calvin Taylor, the former AAU basketball standout.
Well, I tell you guys, Calvin Taylor's been fun to watch this year. He was a guy that I first noticed in the bowl game against Penn State. He was rushing against an offensive tackle over on the right side, and the offensive tackle for Penn State came up to his chest. And I was thinking, who in the heck is this 91? Had to go back and take a look. Really refined his skill, worked on his pad level in his arms this season to improve.
What a great young man. It was fun meeting with him this morning at the Kentucky Hotel. This is Parker White, who is 6 of 8 on the season. He said the toughest guy he had to defend was Andrew Wiggins playing in Peach Jam over in Myrtle Beach. Things getting a little tougher when it comes to SEC football. 26-yard field goal for Parker White, and South Carolina adds to its lead. Family members. Interstate 680, which he took to leave Youngstown, and a Chinese symbol at his eye that he told people forever meant love. He had admitted to Tucker that in actuality it meant death. And death, either literal or figuratively, that was going to come to him if he stayed in Youngstown. He said, "I didn't expect to make it to 21. Here's Ali, and he picks up a couple. And he plays with this extra chip on his shoulder because he was the best player in the state of Ohio, and Ohio State, for a variety of reasons, wanted nothing to do with Lynn Bowden for the longest time. So he has embraced Kentucky and Mark Stoops and the opportunities in front of him going forward that wouldn't have been there without football.
And on a 3rd and long, wouldn't be surprised if they go in Lynn Bowden's direction.
Smith looking the other way, and incomplete. Trying to find Allen Daly Jr. Seemed like Sawyer Smith was reliant on Lynn Bowden in the first couple possessions, and now that time they don't look his way once.
Yeah, it's interesting. They like the matchup they have to the short side of the field, and they keep dipping into that, but time and time again, it's not there. And Sawyer Smith starting this game off 4 for 11. They got to find ways to get him easy throws and get Lynn Bowden involved.
Three and out for Kentucky. Max Duffy with a rush coming at him, and Edwards will take a fair catch and let it go over his head. Duffy will add to his NCAA best yardage. That one's down at the 12-yard line, a 62-yard punt. Kentucky lacking offense. Get to the third quarter here at Williams-Brice Stadium this year. It turns into an emotional tribute to a player who never wore a Gamecocks uniform. Ryan Hilinski comes from a family of quarterbacks. Older brother Kelly played at Columbia and Weber State. And his late older brother Tyler was a junior quarterback at Washington State when he committed suicide. He was, according to the outside world, the top of his game, literally being carried off the field. Autopsy performed after his suicide revealed that he suffered from CTE. That suicide occurred a few months before Ryan visited South Carolina. He and his brother Kelly then visited the lighthouse where they spread their brother's ashes to ask what he would think about Ryan and his family going cross country from California to South Carolina. Ryan said, I got a yes from him, and I knew from that moment going forward it was the place to be. And that's when I knew it was the place for me. According to an article in the Washington Post. A very introspective, emotional display before the game for Ryan Hilinski as he walked the field. Freshman did not expect to be starting this soon in his Carolina career. And now he finds Josh Vann, who stays on his feet for a Gamecocks first down. Kim and Mark Hilinski. Kim with her head in her hands. She's used to the drama of a football field, but it pales in comparison to the grief that that family has gone through. Room in the ground game again. And Cole, you would expect that when a young man goes through something like that, it doesn't just change him off the field, but on the field and around his teammates as well.
Absolutely, Tom. And you think about different ways that you can grow from tragedy. Sometimes at that age, it's very difficult to do it. Ryan Hilinski did this this week of practice after the Missouri game, went to the defense on his own. Defensive coordinator Travaris Robinson telling me that he wanted to come address the defense by himself. Said he addressed them and said, guys, I gave them more points last week than you did. That one was on me.
Rico Dowdle picks up the first down. This was Hilinski pregame in a mostly quiet Williams-Brice Stadium. Hope is forever. Hilinski's hope is the charity. And the South Carolina fans, through a grassroots effort, decided to pay tribute to his brother. You'll see that later in the game. First down, it's a draw, and Rico Dowdle. And Dowdle with a first down run and plenty more as the flags came in. We'll get the penalty call. Cole, why has South Carolina been so effective in the run game?
Well, first and foremost, gap scheme runs. The Kentucky linebackers play aggressive football, sometimes running through the gaps. And if you're going to approach the line of scrimmage in gap scheme runs, you're essentially giving the edge away. And I think South Carolina's been able to take advantage of it. These linebackers for Kentucky playing right up next to the line of scrimmage. When you block back and pull around, you're going to give edges and you're going to give gaps to the run game.
There are two fouls on the play, both by the offense. Holding on the offense, number 18. That penalty is declined. Holding on the offense, number 50. That penalty will be enforced 10 yards from the previous spot. Replay, first down.
That was Cedarius Hutcherson and Ortre Smith. You see big Calvin Taylor. My editor, Mickey Purdy, tells me that it's actually in Augusta where they play that great grassroots basketball tournament.
You can see Hutcherson right there. That's a tough one because the ball is actually supposed to go inside, so he's expecting that defensive player to go that way. Dowdle bounces it to the left. And that change of direction is often what gets linemen caught in the act of holding.
Long throw out to the edge. Missed tackles all over the place for the Cats. And Chavis Dawkins turns it into a gain of 12.
Tell you what, Kentucky's got to figure out how to slow down this run game. They're starting to stack more guys into the box, which means there's openings on the outside, and those are the quick throws that Hilinski is taking right now. South Carolina has the answer to what Kentucky is doing.
2nd and 8. It's Dowdle again. Pardon me, this time it's Feaster. Feaster finds 2. Let's take you back to the studio. Dari, what you got?
Well, Tom, just updating what's going on. Mississippi State just trying to stay in this game. Late first half. Garrett Schrader, helicopter-ish action. We saw that once earlier this season. This time the ball pops out and Auburn recovers. They've got it up 35-9 late second.
It's like trying to catch an Asian carp. South Carolina 3 of 6 on 3rd down. Balanced play selection for the Gamecocks. Hilinski pressured and dropped straight up the middle, and a shot to the face from Calvin Taylor Jr.
On the tackle of Hilinski.
No pressure there from Kentucky. This is just a twist on the inside, and Taylor does a great job of coming over the top and hitting home. You're going to see here, it's going to twist. Taylor's going to come over the top. Great job slow playing it, using his hands, throwing the offensive lineman out of the way, and then getting downhill after the quarterback.
Get the punt away to Bowden. And South Carolina downs it at the 10. They may have gotten another hop out of it had they let it go. It's a 47-yard punt. Welcome to the SEC. And a tailgate unlike any other in college football. It's a Cacaboose Railroad. South Carolina folks bought 22 cabooses from Illinois Central Railroad, along with a railroad spur from CSX. They put it to the south of Williams-Brice Stadium. They parked some cabooses on there, and Party Central, which is fitting for this town, especially after we got stuck behind a train yesterday. 7-yard gain.
It's a great first drive starter for Kentucky there. They've struggled. They have not got anything going, and we talked to Eddie Grand actually this morning. He mentioned first down, the most important down, the most important aspect of this entire game is getting 4 yards. And right there, they picked up 7, so Eddie Grand's got to be happy about that one.
Lynn Bowden, quarterback. He's going to keep it, and he finds a gap right up the middle. Here's Bowden out of Youngstown in Ohio, and running free in Soda City for a gain of 20.
That's another thing Eddie Grand mentioned. He wanted to get in and out of Wildcat. Watch the move that Lynn Bowden puts on Sherrod Green right there. Great read, great move, showing off the athleticism. Got to keep finding ways to get him touches.
This is their posse package with Lynn Bowden at quarterback and 2 backs with him in the backfield.
Bowden puts that into the belly of Asim Rose. It's only one. Kobe Smith with the stop. Spent a lot of time talking, Cole, about Javon Kinlaw and his impact on this South Carolina defense. He has turned into not just a great story, but a great football player.
It's unbelievable to see him up close, Tom. When you see a guy 16% body fat, 298 pounds, the way he's using his hands, his pad level, his leverage, really worked his flexibility in the offseason. He's been dominant.
He was 6'6" as an 8th grader. Now he's 6'6", 310. 2nd and 9. It's Rose. He's able to find 5.
Yeah, part of his game that's really improved sort of works against him right there. You see the quickness on the swim move to be able to get in the backfield. Unfortunately for him, the draw was called right back underneath.
Nobody in the SEC came into the weekend with more sacks than Javon Kinlaw. Matched up with Logan Stenberg. Now to put him over center. Bowden fakes the pass, had a lead blocker, couldn't follow him. And Lynn Bowden picks up 3. He'll be a yard short. Sherrod Green and T.J. Brunson stopping.
Kinlaw was in there making this tough on Lynn Bowden, closing that hole. And Kentucky again, drive stalled. They just cannot get anything going, throwing the football to complement the Wildcat right now. They're going to have to figure some things out at halftime, get back on that board, because South Carolina has their number right now.
Max Duffy's been the only bright spot. South Carolina takes a timeout.
Timeout, South Carolina. That is their second charge timeout of the half.
Gamecocks with one timeout remaining in this first half. Back to Soda City in a moment. Darinoka, thank you. Brian Edwards back to receive this punt. You guys have a lot to talk about at halftime tonight. Ole Miss kept it interesting early with Bama. And looks like Alabama's wide receiver depth is maybe the best we've ever seen. Duffy's going to jog for a few, then punch this one down the field. And it'll be down at the 10. Whenever you see those guys roll out a little bit, you think, well, who has the aggressive mentality just to turn the corner, keep running with the football?
If there was ever a chance to look up from the ball as the punter and go, wait, nobody's in front of me, maybe I should run. There was no one there. Now, you can't give them that opportunity. They're punters. They're on one-track mind. Drop it and kick it. So it's easy to play armchair quarterback. You know, speaking of quarterbacks, it doesn't look like Kentucky's getting much production from theirs. Their offense overall has been abysmal. How tough is it to come out and play a two-quarterback game? Oh, it's extremely tough. And right now, the only thing that's working for Kentucky is the Wildcat. And really the Wildcat with Sawyer Smith off the field. So that doesn't give you much of an illusion to throw the football. So Kentucky's got to figure some things out quickly. Hilinski escaped after the pressure was on his backside. They mark the slide back down after a gain of 3. Kentucky's offensive numbers not good. No, and before that last drive, they only had 14 rushing yards. So they got to really find a way to get some balance, because right now South Carolina is able to play quarters coverage, which means there's 2 safeties, but they're playing very low. They're only playing about 10, 11 yards off the line of scrimmage. So they're getting involved in the run game as well. And without balance, without the threat of throwing the football, they're able to stack guys in the box and shut down the run game. Here's a 2nd and 7, and they'll run it. And they won't find much. Rico Dowdle able to push for 2. We mentioned this being a big game for South Carolina, almost a must-win with what they have left on the schedule, with the start that they've had. This is a big drive for them. With 2 minutes left, can you get points, or can you control the ball all the way to half? It'd be nice to keep that goose egg on Kentucky's side of the ball, not give them an opportunity to get some momentum before half. So you're going to see them milk every second they can of this play clock, but a big 3rd down here in 5. The desperate South Carolina team, after a 1-3 start to the season, a blown lead in their opener against North Carolina.
Timeout. South Carolina will take a timeout. That is their final charge timeout of the half. This will be a 30-second timeout.
They set up a 3rd and 5.
Guys, you're not going to believe this. You have to come with me right now and see what they're doing. This is so much fun. Ah, okay. Whoa. Can I be part of this? No? Yeah? Oh, nope. They don't want me. I don't blame them. I'm no good at this, but they're awesome. So cool.
So you reflect back on that season-opening loss in Charlotte against Mac Brown's team. What did you think about Mac's decision to go for the win today against Clemson? You know what? I loved it. I mean, you're a team where there's not really expectation for Mac Brown there in year 1, and you got the #1 team in the country sitting in your backyard. Think about this. If they convert that 2-point conversion, that might cool Will Muschamp's seat a little bit, because then you look the team you lost to. Yeah, they lost to Appalachian, but they just beat not only the #1 team in the country, but your rival. Absolutely. But I love the aggressiveness. When you have that opportunity, any coach say you can beat the #1 team in the nation if you get a few yards on one play. You'll take that every time. 4-man rush. They got into Hilinski, but he got it away to Edwards. And he's corralled after running for the 1st down. One thing we haven't seen yet, not sure we're going to see it with a 1.5 minutes left here before half, but South Carolina hasn't taken a shot yet. Haven't pushed the ball downfield. It's been a lot of side-to-side, a lot of quick, easy throws. Kentucky tried to make some last-second personnel changes. They'll be forced to burn a timeout.
Timeout.
They only had
Kentucky.
9 on the
That
field.
is their first charge timeout of the half. This will be a 30-second timeout.
Not sure if you know this, but that's not optimal. You're allowed 11. Coming up at the half, you can watch a live performance of the mighty sound of the Southeast. It's on SEC Network Plus. Starts streaming now on the ESPN app. Crazy day in college football. Clemson put to the test. Down to the wire. Mack Brown of North Carolina went for the 2-point conversion instead of the tie. And Clemson escapes. Alabama rolled again.
They had a little scare early. Ole Miss came out. Plumlee was running around, but man, that offense, can anybody stop them? Will anybody? I don't know. They look good right now.
Well, you lose one of your top receivers, and then Devonta Smith goes for 11 catches, 274, and 5 touchdowns.
You lose one of your best guys, and your third or fourth receiver goes off for 5 touchdowns. It's a good problem to have.
Tua Tagovailoa set an Alabama school record with 6 touchdown passes. And Ole Miss had a change of quarterback before the game. We'll see how that affects them next week against Vanderbilt. Rico Dowdle out of the backfield. Squirts free, and he takes it all the way past the 45. It turns into a 22-yard run. Kentucky's tackling has been atrocious.
And it never fails. In the 2-minute drill, the check down is a quarterback's best friend.
We got a flag and movement up front.
Just a great play. South Carolina sends some guys deep. Kentucky playing zone coverage way off and hit the check down.
Ball start on the offense, number 84, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
You know, Army Lieutenant Michael Lockard, Kentucky fan, is here with his lovely wife Madison. He's stationed at Fort Jackson, and they haven't seen much as Kentucky fans to cheer about in this first half. Kentucky held scoreless, and the tackling leaving something to be desired. Four-man rush again. Helinski dropped again. Second sack for Kentucky. It's Calvin Taylor with another big-time play. Calvin Taylor was essentially unrecruited coming out of high school out of Augusta Christian. He signed a couple weeks after signing day. What a get for the Cats.
That was good to see. Seeing Jamar Watson rush off the edge like that, that's one thing we sat down with Brad White, the defensive coordinator for Kentucky. What's your biggest concern? Edge rusher. We don't have a guy like Josh Allen that could be an eraser late in games like he was so often last year. Jamar Watson, number 31, he's the guy to watch on the outside, getting a sack there. Calvin Taylor's playing at an exceptionally high level. Watson right here, watch him off the edge. He's got a lot of speed.
Helinski nearly picked. Brandon Eccles was able to dive after it.
That time they double Watson on the outside, chip him with the running back. It's a good way to slow down a good pass rusher. It's a good job by Kentucky. South Carolina gets a check down that spurts for 20-something yards, gets some momentum, tries to push the tempo, and Kentucky bows up. And
surprised they're not sending the house here. And Kentucky has to use a timeout.
Timeout.
They only had 9
Kentucky.
on the field.
That is their second charge timeout of the half. This will be a 30-second timeout.
That is the second time this quarter Kentucky only had 9 on the field, once on the defense, once on special teams. So as a reload for Kentucky after they lost the all-time leading rusher Benny Snell Jr., the sack leader Josh Allen, starting quarterback Terry Wilson out for the season with a knee injury, and they are only returned 8 of 22. They had the most successful draft day since 1979 in Kentucky football history. But it seems like Mark Stoops has this program in position where that didn't really kill him. They were able to restructure and reload.
yeah, it's because he's recruited really well. I mean, they still have a ton of size and physicality up front, something maybe 4 years ago they didn't have. They had some good players, but they didn't have the depth. They didn't have the talent in their depth to be able to say, we can lose a few and we can start to rebuild and reload and not have a big drop-off. He's done that through recruiting.
Allen went 7th overall to the Jaguars. He's already had an impactful rookie season. Also impactful on his wallet, $14.5 million bonus, and they almost got a piece of that one. But somehow it shot through the gap, and it turns into a 45-yard punt. You lose Josh Allen, Benny Snell, Mike Edwards, Jordan Jones, Chris Westry. Now with the Cowboys, Darius West, Derek Beatty Jr., Lonnie Johnson, Bunchy Stallings, tight end C.J. Conrad, Dorian Baker. Whoa, that's a lot of pieces to replace.
And pieces that really defined who you were on both sides of the ball, especially on defense. The length and talent they left or they lost at corner, and losing a pass rusher like that, that dictates how you play. They were able to play a lot of man coverage last year because they had length on the outside and had a rusher that could get after him, get after the quarterback by just bringing 4. So they're rebuilding completely, especially on that defensive side of the ball.
Stoops was telling us this morning that while they lost so much on the defensive side, the growth that Terry Wilson made in the offseason from spring to fall ball to getting ready, he said, I thought we were in great shape. We were going to have to win differently. We might have to win games in the upper 30s and 40s, but offensively, he was confident that they were going to be a better offense this year.
And they absolutely were. They were set up to do that. Terry Wilson was making strides under Eddie Gran. I think he was poised to have a much better year, and then you lose him. Just means it sets you back for your learning curve with Sawyer Smith a few games. But after this first half, that learning curve has got to accelerate. They got to make adjustments. Got to be better on offense.
78 yards total for Kentucky's offense. South Carolina's secondary has been sensational. They've held Sawyer Smith to 4 of 11 passing for just 27 yards. Will Muschamp standing by with Cole Kubelik.
Coach, 78 yards of offense for Kentucky. Why has your defense been so successful?
Well, they're having a hard time throwing it. We're winning up front offensively. We got to continue to do so, too. They've been a second-half team on us. The last 3 years we've played them. We got to do a better job.
You emphasized the run game in the off week. Satisfied with what you've seen so far?
Well, yeah, we're running the ball well. We need to get back in 12 personnel and run back to the nub side.
Thank you, Coach.
You got to go back to November of 18 against Tennessee. Last time Kentucky was held scoreless in a half. Let's get you to the studio. Dari, Chiz, and Doring. Straight ahead, touchdown, South Carolina. Checks back over the middle. Big gain coming for Shi Smith. We head to the second half at Williams-Brice Stadium. Will Muschamp said it's simple. We need a win. Well, they've won every phase of this game, including quarterback Ryan Hilinski is thrown for 133 yards. They have a 10-0 lead on Kentucky. Mark Stoops' team trying to find their identity. Well, it hasn't come from their offense tonight. Sawyer Smith and the Cats have been held scoreless. Maybe we'll see more Lynn Bowden in the second half to try to find what they're looking for when it comes to points. Welcome back. Tom Hart alongside Jordan Rogers. We know what Will Muschamp wants to do. He told Cole Kubelik, we got to go 12 personnel, run to the nub side. Translate that.
I have never heard a coach give you his game plan. Well, if that is his game plan, he's going to bring an extra tight end in the game, and they're going to run to the short side or the nub side where that tight end is. What that tells me is he wants to continue to commit to the run, but what can you do out of 12 personnel? Go max protect and take some shots as well, so expect him to stretch the field.
Let's see if South Carolina gets a chance to do that. Kentucky will put their offense on the field first. Their offense, which totaled 78 yards in the first half. Here's Lynn Bowden with a chance. Bowden turned the corner. Stays on his feet, just shy of the 40. Let's check in with Cole Kubelik.
Tom spoke to Kentucky head coach Mark Stoops coming out of the break, and he said, listen, simple on defense. We need to tackle, and we're probably protecting our one-on-one matchups on the back end a little bit too much. We need those defenders more involved in the run game. Offensively, he said, we need more plays. Bottom line, have to find a way to get more plays. Defense get off the field, and when we do, we need to be more aggressive and maybe take a few more shots.
And a tribute to Hilinski's hope here at Williams-Brice, holding up the number 3 as the third quarter gets underway. Cleveland Thomas Jr. First catch of the game for Cleveland, and he finds 2 yards. Kentucky's trying to continue a win streak in this series. They have won 5 in a row, but they have yet to convert a third down tonight. They've converted only 1 of their last 23 in that category. Trying to knock off a South Carolina team that doesn't have an FBS win yet. On 2nd and 8, Sawyer Smith leaves it wide of Josh Ali.
That's an RPO there, a run pass option. That's one that Sawyer Smith should have just handed off. The linebacker that he's reading to the field didn't move. Hand that off, pick up 3 or 4 yards if you can, and get yourself into a more manageable third down. One of the reasons they've been bad on third down, too long. Right now, 3rd and 8. It's not a friendly position to be in for any offensive coordinator.
Four-man rush, wins up front for South Carolina, and the ball comes loose. It's another Gamecock takeaway. It ends up in the hands of Aaron Sterling, and that was a flat win up front. DJ Wonnum popped it loose.
You're right, DJ Wonnum won with speed on the outside, and if you're Sawyer Smith, once you get to the top of your drop, you got to step up. You're going to see the pass rush come hard off the edge by Wonnum. And then if you're Sawyer Smith, you got to step up and through the pocket to find your receivers over the middle. You can't retreat from that spot. That tackle does a good job. Run your guy past the quarterback and upfield. If he steps up, he steps away from danger.
Really nice job with the right-hand chop from Wonnum late upfield on that pass rush. That helped him sort of bend the corner and be able to close the pocket.
Well, South Carolina now playing with some confidence. And they come out with 2 tight ends. Show me the nub side here.
Nub side's going to be down here at the bottom of your screen.
They're waiting on Missy Misdemeanor to finish her set.
You see tight end Nick Muse, number 9, at the bottom of your screen. This is the nub sign. They're in 12 personnel, 2 tight ends. Let's see if they run that direction.
And they do, and it turns into a big game for Rico Dowdle. It's a touchdown! Will Muschamp told us what was coming, and it ends up in 6.
Somebody should have been texting Mark Stoops about that interview that Will Muschamp had, because he just tipped his hat exactly. 12 personnel. Handoff to the nub side, the left side of the line of scrimmage. And it went for 6. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
You know how many times you see on Twitter, whether it be an NFL Sunday, college football Saturday, or any other live sporting event where people go, I don't even know why the interview with the coach at halftime, he never says anything. Will Muschamp didn't say much, but he couldn't have said more. 12 personnel to the nub side. You've been educated. And Will Muschamp's defense puts his offense in position to run it the way he wants to. And South Carolina trying to hold on at home. Early second half, 17-0. What a scene here in South Carolina. 17-0. Gamecocks desperate for a victory. Even here, a quarter of the way through the season. The off-season hopes hanging in the balance as it will from here on out after a 1-3 start. From a yard deep, Lynn Bowden. Not often a coach will show you his playbook. About 25 minutes ago. Will Muschamp, what do you want to do on offense?
You emphasize the run game in the off week. Satisfied with what you've seen so far?
Well, yeah, we're running the ball well. We need to get back in 12 personnel and run back to the nub side.
Thank you, Coach.
And that's exactly what they did. You're going to see the tight end here on the nub side. Great down block, and then 2 pullers to lead block to spring this one loose. 12 personnel, nub side for 6.
I just learned something. You learned Asian carp are slippery. I learned what the nub side is.
Unbelievable. Sometimes we look smart, and sometimes just because the coach told us.
Yes. Trying to set up a tunnel screen. It's a loss of 1 to Bowdoin. Kentucky just hasn't gotten on track today. We had a great visit this morning with Sawyer Smith, and he talked about his journey to Lexington, and you brought something up that I hadn't considered. It's a change of mindset to go from joining a program essentially to start a post-grad program as a coach versus playing.
It's literally what he said. He said, I came to Kentucky because I want to be a coach, and I think he thought he could make some connections here, and then all of a sudden, quarterback goes down, and a guy that probably felt like he was at the end of his road as a player. He'd given what he could as a starter, kind of has a new re-energizing rebirth, and is like, I can play some ball. I got a lot of football left in me. Not just now, but maybe at the next level if I play well this year and moving forward.
Well, so far, this isn't one that Kentucky's offense wants to put on its resume reel. Third down struggles continue. Just 1 for their last 23. Mark Stoops is a yard on the field. I got formation issues. Ali in motion. Play clock at 3. Pressure coming in Smith's face. He gets it off incomplete. Cole, what were your expectations for Kentucky's offensive line versus what you've seen tonight?
I didn't think they would have much success going inside in the run game. And if they were going to get in 3rd and 10, 3rd and 8, I knew they were going to have problems. They struggled with games the entire season unless they've been in max protection. But I thought they could get some perimeter runs going, and I thought they'd have more opportunities to get the run going, Tom.
Smith has been under duress most of the night. Duffy takes his time. South Carolina gets away from this one. Kentucky's best field position has come after mistakes. That's a 46-yard punt. A mistake on the South Carolina special teams in the first half.
We've seen a lot of Brian Edwards early in this game. Some handoffs, some jet sweeps, some short throws. I got to think, if you're Brian McClendon, the offensive coordinator for South Carolina, you're up 17 right now. You smell blood in the water. I wouldn't be surprised if they take a shot with Brian Edwards downfield at some point this drive. They haven't really attempted to push the ball downfield. And now up 3 scores, kind of have an opportunity to do just that.
Edwards had 113 yards against Missouri and a 75-yard touchdown. A career-high 9 catches a couple weeks ago against Alabama.
Going to start on the ground, though. I want to continue to establish the run.
Rico Dowdle. Cancer survivor Josh Paschal with the stop.
Now, if you're Kentucky, I think you start to take a little more chances. Man up on the outside when you have the opportunity to do so. Bring some pressures. Got to try to force a turnover at some point.
12 personnel for South Carolina. To the nub side. And Bohanna finds 2.
Keep in mind with what Jordan's talking about potentially taking a shot. Mark Stoops told me coming out of the break, said we might have to get some of the help away from our secondary to come down and be of assistance in the run game. You do that, that's where those one-on-ones show up more often.
Defensive coordinator Brad White got his graduate degree from Wake Forest, where he played ball as a linebacker. Helinski fires incomplete. That was a bullet. DeAndre Square to knock it away from Edwards.
It's a good job by Kentucky getting off the field, but just a hair late from Ryan Helinski. Had Brian Edwards there, sitting in front of him, showing his numbers, and just a half a second late allowed the defender to get there and break that one up, and Edwards comes up hobbling a little bit.
Yeah, he's had a hitch in his giddy up the last, well, this second half at least, on a catch earlier too. 3 inside the 20 for Charlton out of AC Flora High School. Bowdoin says stay away, and it'll trickle into the end zone. 65-yard punt for Joseph Charlton. drive will take you into the 80s. Herschel's impact. Bears passing with Bo and Auburn taking control of the offense. And the universities begin to reap the benefits of football's growing financial profile. You can only see Saturdays in the South right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. Here's Lynn Bowden. Bowden broke through out of a fistful of jersey. We were at a dinner in Athens, Georgia a couple of years ago, and the host and his friends started to discuss Herschel Walker is the best back in the history of the SEC. And it's as polite as I've ever seen Cole Kublik.
Fuming on the inside.
Fuming.
It wasn't just that they thought he was the best, that they thought it was no contest. And there was literally no mention of Bo Jackson in their portion of the conversation. It was only Herschel Walker.
Your manners classes paid off, Foghorn Leghorn. 3rd and 2. First one less than 3 yards tonight. Busted play. Bowden loses the football. They'll get nothing. Jamar Brown was in there to break it up, but there are a host of Gamecocks. They're able to get through the offensive line.
And this play was broken from the start. Lynn Bowden actually fakes the wrong direction. Confused at where this play is supposed to hit. Ball comes out.
Jamar Brown with a kick save and a beauty.
Kentucky still can't get anything going.
That'd be a penalty if it were intentional. Shi Smith set to return now instead of Edwards. It'll check up. 48-yard punt. South Carolina's been successful in a lot of facets of their game today, including the run game. Rico Dowdle's over 100 yards, a senior from up in Asheville, North Carolina.
This was great to see. I mean, last week they struggled mightily running the football. Neither running back got over 20 yards on the ground. Part of that was the game plan from behind, but it is good to see South Carolina running the football and running the football aggressively and effectively. That makes it that much easier on Ryan Hilinski. Dowdle's had one heck of a game so far.
Dowdle coming off of an 8-carry, 17-yard performance against Barry Odom's Mizzou squad. Here's Feaster. Feaster popped through again. It's a pickup of 9. So Mark Stoops was telling us, as you alluded to earlier, that he laid off the pedal a little bit when it came to Monday practice. He said we watched some film, we got ready for ourselves and for South Carolina, but I felt like my guys were sluggish last week against Mississippi State. It showed up in practice Thursday and Friday and in the game. There may be some tackling practice in the near future. That time they get great penetration. It's TJ Carter.
Wow. It's a great read by TJ Carter there. So quick off the ball. South Carolina didn't even have time to get a body on him, but you're right, Tom, you mentioned it. Kentucky is one of those teams that, and as we've seen in the NFL and college over the last few years, teams are starting to change the way they practice and get faster and faster the closer they get to game day. Kentucky's one of those teams that does that, so opted to get his guys off the field earlier in the week, try to rest them up, but conditioning hasn't been the only problem tonight. They're just getting pushed around.
Another sack for the Cats. This time it comes from Jamar Watson.
Tell you what, Jamar Watson's putting together a good game. And there's not much right now to brag about if you're Kentucky on the defensive side of the football. But he's going to be on the right side of your screen here, coming off the ball. Kentucky's looking for a pass rusher to take that spot of Josh Allen, one of the best that's ever done it here at Kentucky and in the SEC. Jamar Watson looks good. A lot of speed, athleticism off the edge. Not the same body type as Allen, but he's good and they need it.
They call him Boogie. His dad's nickname was Bookie. They had to change it so nobody was confused. And Boogie's got 2 sacks tonight. That's a 50-yard punt. Can Kentucky find offense? Well, let's talk defense.
It started early for South Carolina. A mistake, a poor throw by Sawyer Smith really got things going in the wrong direction for Kentucky. And since then, haven't been able to find a ton of room for Lynn Bowden on the outside or the inside. This defensive front for South Carolina has been in Sawyer Smith's lap all night. And it's been all South Carolina.
Only 6 takeaways through the first 4 games, and a couple tonight for Travaris Robinson's defense. How about his Augusta National hat he was sporting during our meetings
awesome.
yesterday?
I need to get one of those.
That was throwback. Thought he was going to break out some yacht rock. Sawyer Smith lobs one down the middle of the field, and that is incomplete. Best play may have come from Israel Mukumu, trying to find Ahmad Wagner, former Iowa basketball player.
And I love the play call if you're Kentucky. I mean, you don't have anybody that can separate right now, so find your 6'6" wide receiver. Something good usually happens when you throw in the ball. It's either a pass interference or a catch. This time the ball is short. Sawyer Smith had a defender right in his face, so he didn't get enough on the ball and didn't give his big receiver a chance to go up and get it.
Coming into this game, almost a third of the time Wagner has been targeted, it's turned into a penalty flag. On 2nd and 10, they're able to find 5.
Travaris Robinson told us down on the field before the game that he was going to bring backside blitzes and backside pressure in this game to do just that. Take away runs from the backside. If these running backs are going to be patient, trying to find space, you saw Sherrod Green coming from the backside of that play, able to track it down and get a tackle in the backfield.
Late changes. I saw the Kentucky personnel change. Cats took out a tight end, brought in another wide receiver. Four-man rush. Smith delivers. What great hands by Ahmad Wagner.
Wow. That is an unbelievable catch right there. That's not a good ball by Sawyer Smith. He's late on the slant, nearly misses the window, so he has to throw the ball behind Wagner here. And watch this catch. I mean, running full speed in one direction, contorts his body all the way back, and uses that long wingspan to bring that one in on a crucial 3rd down for Kentucky.
Is one of their last 24 on 3rd down. That is their first 3rd down conversion in 10 attempts tonight.
False start on the offense, number 67. 5-yard penalty remains 1st down.
That's Landon Young, one of 11 in the FBS and the AFCA Good Works team, coming off of a knee injury last season in which he didn't play.
And that's just a product of DJ Wonnum lining up on the outside, right outside of him. We saw the sack earlier by Wonnum. And he's just trying to get a head start on a defender now that has the jump on this cadence.
First and 15. Smith heaves it, and it's incomplete, and he's lucky it's incomplete. Ali, the intended receiver. Horn had the coverage.
You know, Tom, you know I'm a Cali boy, right?
Yes, sir.
So there's a certain way we say things in California. There's a certain way that I'm unable to say things.
Like what?
Like Sawyer. It just doesn't. I'm going to say Sawyer. Just that's the way it comes out of my mouth. Like I'm not able to add that twang onto it. I'm not.
That's all right. That's how Ed McMahon did it when Sawyer Brown rolled through Star Search back in the early 80s.
I'm not trying to pronounce his name wrong. I just don't have that twang. I don't know. I'll just start calling him Smith.
We asked him point blank, how does your mom say your name?
Sawyer.
It's Sawyer. Did you ever see Star Search?
I haven't.
YouTube that one. You'll be busy.
I feel like if I start saying Sawyer.
Delay of game on the offense. 5-yard penalty remains 2nd down.
Everybody sitting at home is going to know I'm really struggling with it.
Jordan's favorite wrestler growing up was Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Wow. Okay.
Nice.
That is true. Hacksaw. You know what?
We're going to get you hooked on phonics before the season's over.
I don't make fun of the way you talk. Here we go. Second long.
Four-man rush again. Sawyer Smith floats one, and Bowden ran out of real estate, and then he went down in front of the Carolina bench. And the Gamecocks personnel will get over there to check on him. Looked like he ran into the chain marker.
Yeah, it gets a little slick over there when they put that tarp down. He's running full speed through the white here in the sideline.
Drop the stick, drop the stick, drop the stick, or just hold it in front of his head.
I'm not sure what it was there. It almost looked like maybe on the plant or trying to slow down.
Yep.
Definitely wasn't that padded first down marker that caused the damage.
Did you ever watch American Gladiator?
I did.
Yeah, that
Malibu.
He was jousting.
Malibu was my favorite.
Figure a Cali kid would side with Malibu. 3rd and Dillon from here. Smith chase. All he can do is flick it to the sideline. Kingsley Enagbare tracked him down, and we got a flag late. Back where Sawyer Smith was dropped.
Sawyer. Got it. That was really the pass rush that got Smith outside the pocket there, trying to push the ball downfield. I believe it was.
The South Carolina students might want for this penalty to be announced, because there's a good chance it's intentional grounding.
There is no foul for intentional grounding. The player was outside the tackle box. However, personal foul, horse collar tackle on the defense, number 52. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Students just reacted like they were going to close 5 points an hour early. Enagbare.
Yep. Can't do that. Got his hands around the pads there. Even now, if your hand is up around the name on the back of the jersey, they'll call that as well. And Smith clearly outside the pocket.
And that play is a foul because of its consistency to lead to injury.
Yeah.
Kentucky fans know that well. That's how Terry Wilson was lost for the season. Torn patellar tendon. Had surgery last week. Occurred in a game against Eastern Michigan. Bowden takes over at quarterback. Bowden keeps it. He's going to need an ice bath after this one. DJ Wanham brought him down. And now Sawyer Smith will return at quarterback. Sawyer Smith was originally headed to Alabama to play baseball. That's where his brother Austin played. Austin was a 33rd round pick of the Marlins in 2014. He was picked ahead of a guy out of Texas Tech that barely played. Pat Mahomes went in the 37th round of the Tigers that year. Yeah, that Pat Mahomes. Smith down the sideline into coverage. It is batted away and a near pick. Maybe if there wasn't a collision, J.C. Horn would have it.
Sawyer Smith's really lucky on that one. He stared this wheel route down the entire time, which brings J.C. Horn over the top. Should have picked that off, but Sherrod Greene collides with him in coverage. As a quarterback, you got to use your eyes to move defensive players. Took Horn straight to the ball on that one, or might have had a play.
Play clock was at 3. Nobody knew where to go. Christopher Rodriguez Jr., the freshman running back,
Kentucky
was in the wrong
that is their
spot
first charge
apparently.
timeout of the half.
Nothing's coming up Kentucky Blue tonight. They're not merry, happy, or bright.
ESPN, home of the college football playoff.
Stoops and Kentucky struggling offensively tonight. His older brother Ron Jr. was in town last night. Former coach at Youngstown State. Now in the development office for Cardinal Mooney High School, the legendary football program in Youngstown where all of the Stoops brothers played. He's in development now, so if Ron Stoops calls, go ahead and get the checkbook ready. 3rd and 9, Kentucky just 1 of 10 on 3rd. Smith, maybe his best throw of the night, and it's hauled in by Ahmad Wagner. 26 yards as they convert.
Absolutely love the decision by Smith there to throw it upstairs to Ahmad Wagner, 6'6" on the outside. It's the only chance he had of completing that ball. So it was great coverage, but an even better catch by Wagner to bring this one down. This is a good ball. Best ball he's thrown all night, by far. In tight coverage there. McQuamu's 6'4", the cornerback there, so not an easy completion.
Little trickery. Smith down the sideline, batted away. Fantastic recovery by T.J. Brunson.
That's an exceptional play there by Brunson. This is a double reverse flea flicker. See the one reverse, the two toss it back. That's really tough as a linebacker to see all that happening in the backfield and still realize, oh shoot, the tight end just leaked out, recovered with speed and made a great play.
10th play of the drive for Kentucky. They are desperate for points. Bowden hands it off to Rodriguez, the freshman. He is bottled up. Sherrod Green's coming off of his first start last week against Missouri, and he has been busy tonight.
He's a guy that's been more of a reserve role this year, but talking to T-Rob, the defensive coordinator, this week the plan was play regular personnel, 1st and 2nd down, because Kentucky would come out in the Wildcat. Wanted an extra linebacker on the field, and Green has played a heck of a game in an extended opportunity.
Wagner and Bowden will be the key receivers here on 3rd and 8. Play clock already at 7.
Watch Bowden there, middle receiver of the 3.
Smith escapes the pocket. Nobody open deep. He'll find a cheerleader. Enagbare was the one who chased him. Remember, he had the sack that turned into a horse collar. Javon Kinlaw turned him around.
And Smith really wanted to go to Bowden up the middle of the field there. But you can see at the top of your screen, double covered. And so nothing to do but throw the ball away.
Offense stays on the field looking at a 4th and 8. And he goes down. Another sack for Carolina. DJ Wonnum.
It's really difficult as an offensive line in 3rd and long or 4th and long, not getting beat with speed. Because these defensive ends can pin their ears back and rush with speed, not have to worry about being gap sound, not have to worry about contain. And that is tough when you have a guy like Wonnum on the outside, as athletic as he is, knowing quarterback's got to drop back and sit right in front of him.
I think your misspeak was accurate. 3rd and wrong most of the night for Kentucky. Helinski wants to take a shot. Flag at the line of scrimmage. Dort, who returned to the game, had the coverage on Shi Smith.
Offside on the defense, number 90, lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty, still 1st down.
Senior out of Mableton, Georgia, Whitfield Academy, T.J. Carter.
This is where, if you're South Carolina,
We start to take control of this game, back in 12 personnel, 2 tight ends in the game here. They're going to look to the sideline, see if they like their numbers running the football.
You expect him to run left?
I do.
Mo Denson with the carry. And they'll be left with second and a very short 2.
And I love what they did there. So they line up 2 tight ends to one side. They motion one across. And you wait and see what the defense does. Do they adjust with them? Do they add an extra guy to the right side? Well, then you check it back left. It's a numbers game. And when you have the benefit of not worrying about the clock and you can waste it, you can sit back, wait for Kentucky to adjust, and then get in the perfect play.
Denson again.
Von Denson on the carry. Josh Pascal on the stop for Kentucky.
South Carolina was the favorite in this game, even though Kentucky looked like they're a team playing with more momentum, the Mississippi State game notwithstanding. How surprised are you that it's 17-0?
I'm pretty surprised. You know, going into this game, me and Cole talked about it. I think I was leaning slightly towards South Carolina. I think he was leaning slightly towards Kentucky, but I don't think either of us saw Kentucky's offense getting a goose egg going into the fourth quarter. Didn't see that coming.
South Carolina got off to their worst start since the winless '99 season. Post shot, incomplete. Maybe they just need a little bit of magic back in Soda City. Head ball coach was in town. Saw him leaving the hotel today.
Yeah, Cole honked at him. Got nothing.
Cole honked really long and loudly at Steve Spurrier.
This was the shot I've been waiting to see. When were they going to take a deep shot to Brian Edwards? Did a little play action at 12 personnel, sucked up the linebackers. But that ball's got to be thrown to the opposite upright if you're a quarterback. On a post route, you got to lead your guy away from the defense. Had everyone beat, just got to give him green grass to run towards.
Hey, Cole, I noticed you're standing in front of the student section. How's it going down there?
It's pretty good. I'm not being heckled at the moment, so that's a plus. It's calmed down a little bit. I'd say it was loud at the beginning of this game. Great atmosphere. Student section was into it, but a couple people have sort of trickled out.
What would they have to heckle you about?
Your playing career in Chicago?
Yeah, they love seeing 54 make tackles. So.
Bielinski trying to escape trouble. That'll be intentional grounding, will it not?
No. Rico Dowdle over there. Come on, Tom. Give the quarterback the benefit of the doubt.
I don't see Rico Dowdle anywhere.
There is no foul for intentional grounding. Number 5 was in the area. 4th down.
Well, he threw it.
I saw number 50.
Yeah, he threw it at the feet of Hutcherson, the left tackle here, but just beyond him was Rico Dowdle. Really smart move by Hilinski, avoiding the rush, finding out or knowing where his check down is, and just getting the ball in that direction.
There he is. Good point.
But it was close. It was. That one was at the feet of 50.
Go back to 2016 against Alabama, the last time Kentucky was shut out through 3 quarters. Fair catch asked for. It'll get into the end zone. There's a flag on the far sideline. Take it back. September of 2016, they were shut out through 3 quarters against Florida. That turned into a 45-7 Florida victory.
Illegal motion on the kicking team. That 5-yard penalty will be added to the touchback spot. 1st down, Kentucky.
We had a visit with Sawyer Smith this morning, talk about the shots that he took last week. He said he was trying to protect his wrist at one point. He fell right on his shoulder, his throwing shoulder. You seeing any effects of that?
You know, the ball's been coming out of his hand a little funky. You know, not that you expect the quarterback to throw a perfect spiral every time, but he's missed high. The ball's come out with a little less velocity, I think, that I've seen him in the past. You know, he took a couple big shots last week. Anytime you take a shot on that right shoulder, it gets really sore. Sometimes it gets inflamed. That limits your ability to use it as a whip, to use it with the velocity that you're used to doing. So wouldn't be surprised if he's feeling a little bit of that right now, and it's kind of evident that he's not quite 100%.
Big blast from behind. Turns into a first down. But Daly, excuse me, got popped. Nobody there.
I think Smith wanted to go to his tight end, Upshaw, on that one. A little RPO, a run pass option with that linebacker sucking up, but Upshaw never turned and gave him his eyes. So it's yet again another negative play, and now another 2nd and long.
Sawyer Smith gets thrown to the ground by Aaron Sterling. And the 3rd quarter will end with another fantastic South Carolina play from their defense.
That is the end of the 3rd quarter.
17-0 Gamecocks.
Started on the ground early for South Carolina. They got things going where they wanted to, and that has opened up massive holes for Rico Dowdle, as well as some room for Ryan Hilinski, and this defense has been smothering for Sawyer Smith all night. It's really an impressive performance on both sides of the ball for South Carolina.
Third and long. Gonna make it halfway to Hazard for a first down. Smith dumps it out. And Rose only finds 10. They'll have to punt it away. So what we've established, by the way, tonight is it Sawyer Smith pronounces his name one way, and that great country group Sawyer Brown, according to family members, perhaps they say it a different way.
No, I'm kidding. Everybody says it's Sawyer. I was just trying to give myself an out.
You were trying. Oh,
this Cali accent doesn't understand that way to pronounce it.
You can't be trusted. Don't worry, it was an issue in the Commonwealth leading up to him getting more playing time. He kind of giggled about it. He said, yeah, they're trying to figure out how to say it. It's a 57-yard punt for Duffy. Not good when your punter is your MVP. How about this? Last time Kentucky was shut out. Take you back to this. Look familiar? 40-0 Vandy behind Jordan Rogers, 220 passing and a couple of touchdowns.
I remember that game. It was cold. There was some sleet, some hail, and I believe that was Joker. I think that was Joker's last game. So you're welcome, Kentucky. You're welcome for what you've been able to do since then.
The building of the program under Mark Stoops has been remarkable. I am shocked, though, that they have failed to score a point tonight. In this South Carolina defense, much maligned. Listen, everybody's going to look bad defensively against Alabama. I think we know that. They gave up some points to Missouri when the offense coughed it up in the end zone. Also allowed a long interception return for a touchdown, so can't blame the defense for that. But it looks like they have gotten right defensively tonight. Rico Dowdle holding his left ankle. And it remains to be seen if Kentucky will be the best barometer of where you are defensively, but it's certainly better than what South Carolina had shown through their first 4 games.
I mean, they came into this 116th in the country, giving up 290 a game, so it's been a great performance so far for South Carolina, an area that they thought was a weakness. But that guy laying on the ground right there, you hope it's not serious, because he's a big part of this offense moving forward.
Rico Dowdle with a 100-yard game tonight. 15 carries, 102, and a touchdown. And he got his ankle bent at the end of this one.
He's going to have a big boy laying right on the outside of his ankle. Expect that's going to be a little swollen, but hopefully not too serious. They got a bye coming up, right?
Yeah.
So that'll help.
Tipped by Cash Daniel, and it falls incomplete. Will Muschamp was asked about preparation for this game, and he said, well, we've got to kick bye week 2. Paraphrasing.
Would you leave some out there?
Yeah. Looking awfully studious tonight.
The reader's on.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you at dinner. The menu.
The wine list, maybe. Most important order of the night. Here's Brian Edwards.
Tell you what, we kind of hit that point in the game where it's a little bit of a lull. You know, South Carolina's had this game in control for a while now, but there's 13.5 minutes left in this ball game. Kentucky's going to get the ball back. If they can get a drive, they can get some points on the board, preferably a touchdown, obviously. You start to put some pressure on South Carolina. And I know they haven't been able to do anything on offense, but if Kentucky gets it going this drive, it's back to a ball game.
They got a lot to fix, that's for sure. Bowden lets it bounce. That'll turn into a boomer. Some hidden yardage at the end of that one, and Duffy, their MVP, with a 59-yarder. Here's what Will Muschamp had to say in terms of not just getting ready for this week, but for that invisible foe waiting 7 days from now.
Do you consider this a must-win game Saturday?
They're all must-win games. Every single game. You know what next week's going to be? That's where we're open. The next week's going to be must-win, and we need to kick opens.
Fancy edit.
Wonder how you do that. How do you go about
kicking open spot?
Yeah.
Yeah. You get healthy. These are the only games they'll be favored in going forward. Only a 9% chance to win against Georgia, but in the meat of that schedule remaining, Tennessee, Vandy, and Appalachian State. By the way, that's an App team that beat North Carolina. Transitive property. North Carolina nearly beat Clemson, but North Carolina did beat South Carolina head-to-head.
You mentioned that Georgia game. I mean, look, is Georgia much more talented than South Carolina right now? Yeah. But when you look at the defensive side of the ball for South Carolina, they have an NFL prospect, a talented player up front, Javon Kinlaw. Got linebackers and T.J. Brunson and D.J. Wanham that are playing really well. And if this back end starts to come together, it's not going to be a team that Georgia's just going to be able to roll over. This team is definitely trending in the right direction. What do you think, Cole?
I think any team on Georgia's schedule, the first thing you have to say, Jordan, is what do you look like up front on defense?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a couple of war daddies up front on defense, there's a good chance you're going to get mauled.
Define a war daddy.
Javon Kinlaw.
What
Derek
makes
Brown,
him a war daddy?
Raekwon Davis.
I feel like you're only giving examples of war daddies.
Yeah, I want
you're not
more
defining
of a
war
defining.
daddy.
When you go into the wars in the trenches, he becomes your daddy.
Interesting. On a drop.
That is
been that kind of night.
Man, that just takes the wind out of you. And this is something that plagued Kentucky last week. They had 7 drops last week. I mean, Sawyer Smith's stat line, 15 of 41, looked really bad. You take those 7 drops out of the equation, they might win that ball game. 2 of those were for touchdowns, and a big one right there gets you to maybe a 3rd and short, gets you some momentum, some confidence. And now you're behind the sticks again.
Pressure coming. Jamie Robinson on Lynn Bowden Jr. Freshman out of Lee County High School, Leesburg, Georgia.
Another situation here where watch the air that comes out of this ball. Look how high that gets. I mean, that's a ball.
Is he healthy?
I don't think so. That's a ball I was just about to say that Smith will drive. I mean, he's got good arm talent. I know he's on his back foot there, but he's got the ability to drive that. It just doesn't look like the ball is coming out of his hands with the velocity that it has in the past.
3 for their last 29 on 3rd down conversions if you're watching from Texas. Smith, again, Now, there are times, obviously, where a quarterback wants to use touch and wants to drive it.
Yeah, that was not one of those situations. You got man coverage in the slot. You're trying to fit a ball in tight. I mean, that's one that even if you're on your back foot, you're going to try to drive. And if you miss low. The ball is just coming out of his hands, almost like popping up first before it starts to really get going. And that just tells me that I don't think his arm is 100% healthy, whether it's serious or not. And it's definitely affected from the injury last week.
There are few, if any, options for Kentucky at the quarterback position if he's not healthy. That touched the Kentucky player about the 14-yard line. It'll be a 46-yard punch shot from Max Duffy. Ryan Hilinski and the Gamecocks back on offense next.
But really backed up against a wall. Alabama. They trailed Ole Miss 10-7. Thought it was over there for a bit. And then Devontae Smith had a school record 5 touchdown catches and a school record 274 receiving yards. No tongue-in-cheek there at all, guys.
They actually trailed in that game for the first time this season. And Devontae Smith, just another name, the best wide receiving corps in the country.
5 touched. I still can't get over that.
Tua set a Alabama record. How's this? Tavian Feaster, the Clemson transfer, carrying dudes with him. Brian McClendon and Will Muschamp raved about Feaster. Said, here's a guy who came from a program that knows how to do it right. He's mature. He's intelligent. He's got a great approach.
I think he's hungry. And obviously, we saw Dowell go down earlier. He is talented. He's big, 6 foot, 220. He's got enough wiggle in him, and oh yeah, he'll just run you over if you get in his way.
And now Denson. Cole, let me ask you something about Alabama. I just want to point out that Ole Miss had 279 rushing yards today, 3rd most allowed by Alabama in an SEC game under Nick Saban. Are we at the point with that Alabama offense that we will kindly look the other way at yardage and points that are put up by their opposition?
100%. As we will the Alabama rushing attack as well. It just does not matter near as much as it did 5-10 years ago.
It's amazing the development, and I thought about that, the lack of that explosive offense when I was watching that fantastic Notre Dame-Georgia game. Georgia did not show that they would have an offense that would push the ball down the field and take advantage of one-on-one matchups.
No, and I still feel like that's a little bit of a question with Georgia. I mean, they have talent on the outside, but I don't think they've found a guy that fills that Mecole Hardman role to really unlock their passing game. They got big guys on the outside that can win.
Ball came loose. And South Carolina's Brian Edwards wins this game of Hungry Hippo. It turns into a gain of 8.
Georgia's got big guys in town on the outside that can control the ball running the football, but Alabama's just in a different class of their own. I wonder, though, today you mentioned first time they've trailed. A mobile quarterback presents problems for Alabama and has always presented problems.
Ball was stripped by Kentucky, but they couldn't find it. Look at this. Hilinski's got the football. Put that one on the film, and folks now going to have to pay attention to it.
It's just a great read. You know, you fall asleep on the zone read if you're Kentucky, not thinking Hilinski's really a guy that's going to beat you with his feet. But he's going to keep you honest. Defensive end and the backside safety crash hard, and Hilinski does a great job. It's a good read. That's all you need. Now, at the very least, you'll keep that backside honest and open up the cutback for the running back on the zone give.
Number 2 pro-style quarterback in the country coming out of Orange Lutheran. Back to the ground game. Spartanburg's Feaster.
I think depth is a little bit of an issue for South Carolina at running back. Obviously not knowing the extent of Rico Dowdle's injury. The 1-2 punch of him and Tavian Feaster was great, but without Dowdle, you have true freshman Kevin Harris, who's out of the game with an injury. You got Mon Denson, who we've seen, and really outside of that, nobody with any experience. So interesting to see with a week off how Dowdle's injury progresses, because that 1-2 punch is crucial for South Carolina moving forward.
Here's Feaster. Wow, he just muscled into the end zone. Yusuf Corker, instead of bringing him down, escorted him. 19-yard run and the second touchdown of the game for Tavien Feaster.
And I love watching guys like Feaster never run out of bounds, right? I mean, the easy thing here would be to hold that stiff arm, just coast out of bounds, take your 14, 15-yard gain, plants his foot, says, nope, I'm going to take this one all the way, redirects, and there's the strength of that 220-pound frame. And that is demoralizing if you're Kentucky.
This Kentucky program last year enjoyed a renaissance. It was a team last season built in the spitting image of Mark Stoops and their blue-collar background. That identity has been lost. They have been pushed around the field all night. South Carolina up 24-zip.
Program has won in Baton Rouge since 1999. At least you get Georgia and Alabama at home. The good news for Auburn fans, you can lean on that defense because it looks like they're going to be dominant.
Lynn Bowden decides to bring this out, stays on his feet. He is a fighter, takes a pass at 26. So you take a look at the odds that Auburn has going forward with that schedule and the chances to find a win. Florida, 47% chance. That would be a heck of a lot different, I would assume, if it was at Jordan-Hare. The best odds of those ranked teams home against Georgia November 16th. We've got an injured player on the field. South Carolina's Caleb Kinlaw.
That was a big statement today for Auburn, and just looking at what we've seen from them so far this season, I was questioning how effective they can be throwing the football. I mean, coming off a week where Bo Nix didn't complete a ball beyond 7 yards downfield, and their running backs only had 83 combined yards. So I think they're still trying to figure out just how much rope and leash they can give Bo Nix. And it looked like today, I'll need to dive into that film, but it looked like they gave him a lot of opportunity, which opened up some rushing lanes as well. And I think that's really the key to their success, being balanced as much as possible.
Well, this might be balanced. Bo Nix has thrown for over 330 yards tonight, and Auburn has rushed for 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's the equation.
But you said Nix 16 of 21, right?
Yeah.
That's about right where he needs to be. I mean,
Totally.
if they're keeping Nix right around between 20 and 25 passes a game, that's a winning formula for Auburn. They start getting up in the 30s and 40s. That's not where they want to be, especially next week against Florida with Grenard and Zuniga and those guys. Adam Schuler's been playing pretty good inside. They start getting around 35, 40 pass attempts next week, they'll be in trouble.
7:39 remaining in the fourth quarter as they continue to tend gingerly to Caleb Kinlaw. Back in a moment. They had to do a lot of work to get Kinlaw back up and on his feet. Watch the end of this play. Jeff Guy, the physician, was out there with him.
You can see him right here coming in from the left side of the ball carrier, trying to make a tackle, sticks that left arm out, and it's a lot of speed, a lot of impact on that arm. But up, and I saw even a smile there, so.
Oof, I don't know how you can smile after that. I mean, Jeff Guy was working that thing.
Yeah, something was out of place, it looked like.
At a place like Cole at a black tie dinner. Midway through the fourth here, 24-0 South Carolina. Sawyer Smith over the middle, off the hands of Justin Rigg.
He's just not seeing things well right now, Tom. And miscommunication on the previous play. Receiver broke in, he threw the ball out. On that play, he's got a drive concept, which means he's got to dig by the tight end and a shallow cross. And the guy right next to where he threw the ball was Lynn Bowden, and he was wide open. So Sawyer Smith's just not seeing the field like Eddie Gran wants him to right now.
He's completed about a third of his passes tonight. Chase, and they will catch him. DJ Wonnum and Sawyer Smith is not moving around too well. Second sack for Wonnum.
And this is as much of a coverage sack as anything. Had 4 verticals going. Really good coverage on the outside. You can see Smith here looking to the left. Looks back to the middle. And just nothing open. And by that time, Wonnum had a chance to loop around on a stunt and be in the right place at the right time.
My mistake. Third sack for DJ Wonnum, senior out of Stone Mountain, Georgia. You wonder if Sawyer Smith is really banged up, what they do at the quarterback position. That was a 58-yard punt. Likely to get another, at least another possession in this one. So South Carolina's got a bye week, and the pressure was really building on Will Muschamp. He's got a monster buyout, but the thought was that people were getting a little impatient around here after a 1-3 start. Does that put all that talk to rest?
I think it does, at least for now. Obviously, the schedule doesn't get any easier down the road, but these are the type of games when those questions are even around the program. You have to win, and you have to dominate. And they did that tonight, did exactly what they needed to.
Helinski at quarterback. And the ground game has been fantastic. Tavian Feaster with a nice run. That's a gain of 10. So for South Carolina, we already showed that they have these 4 big games left on their schedule, including a Texas A&M team that almost lost at Jerry World today to Arkansas. Maybe A&M isn't as good as we thought they were going to be. Is South Carolina good enough to win one of those 4 big games?
You know, I think so. I think a lot is going to continue to hinge on the development of Ryan Helinski and just how much this secondary has improved. You know, is tonight a product of Sawyer Smith not being 100% healthy and not be able to get the ball to the place he needs to, or has this defense really started to turn the corner on the back end? Because that'll really, they got to have that to win one of those games.
Florida's ranked in the top 10. They had no issues today. Cole, in your opinion, is Florida a top 10 program right now?
Think about what Florida's had to do. They've had to change quarterbacks in the middle of the season. They had to replace 4 starters on the offensive line. They're going to take time to grow, but when you look at the talent on the edge, you look at the talent in the secondary on defense, David Reese at inside linebacker, the skill positions, wide receiver and running back, they're not too far off from anybody else in the SEC. Here's the problem. We start playing that game of, are they a top 10 team? And people will look at the deficiencies of a team and they'll say, oh, no, there's no way they should be up there. All right, well, who are you putting up there? If you're taking Florida out of the top 10, how many other teams are there that you're willing to say, yes, that's definitely a top 10 team, and they're not there right now?
I agree, and I think the way the college football rankings have worked and the powers have worked, top 10, you're really judging numbers roughly 6 through 16.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, so there's always 4 or 5 clear-cut teams.
It just seems like this year, Helinski got hit pretty hard. This year, the elite are in a class to themselves. Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, and LSU, and now looks like Auburn belongs in that class.
Oklahoma.
You say Georgia,
yes,
Oklahoma. I mean,
yep.
There's really 6 or 7 teams right now that, maybe 6 teams that are completely in a class of their own. And really, there's not much difference between all the teams. I mean, you look at what Alabama struggled with today in a mobile quarterback. Oh, Jalen Hurts is going to be able to do that. He can run around. He can throw it. You know, I mean, all these teams are really close when you start to match up and play that game.
Josh Ali, after a 56-yard punt, we'll see a new quarterback for Kentucky. This will be Walker Wood. Lexington native, redshirted in 17. Didn't see any game action last year. This is a guy who was hurt, knee injury his final high school game, and a torn bicep in his right arm summer of 18. He lived in the training room. And after all that time with the athletic training staff to get his body right, he had to relearn his mechanics. Wood was throwing, and they're going to stick with Bowden here. Walker Wood might be a little surprised, as am I.
So you just told me I was going in.
Yeah, why did I get loose? Lynn Bowden's been taking snaps as the #2 quarterback since the injury to Terry Wilson. He's not just a Wildcat quarterback. And I think that if you look ahead for Kentucky, they might be in a position where they have to figure out if Lynn Bowden can be their #1 quarterback.
I think so. I mean, obviously, depending on the health of Sawyer Smith. But he's a guy that adds a dynamic element to that position. You saw he just took a straight drop and hit a 5, 6, 7-yard hitch route to the wide side of the field with ease. I mean, he's talented.
And opens the door for Rodriguez. And Christopher Rodriguez Jr., the freshman, showing some get up and go. Takes it nearly to the 30. Almost knocked the bumper off of Maserati to get there. And Kentucky with one of its best plays of the night.
And plain and simple, what Kentucky needs out of the quarterback position as we continue to talk about Lynn Bowden now in at quarterback after a really good run, and they needed that. But that position needs to be efficient, and that's really what they've lacked. Sawyer Smith was 36% last game, right around 33% this game. They got to complete more balls. You got to take the layups and complete them when they're there. And Lynn Bowden's a guy that can do that. I'm not saying he's better.
Sure.
But
his high school numbers would suggest it. 6th in Ohio prep history in total yards, 10th in rushing touchdowns. Coming out, his high school coach compared him to some Youngstown greats like Mario Manningham, former Michigan wide receiver, was fantastic, and Maurice Clarett, who of course played at Ohio State. Bowden on the run, and this is what he can do. Bowden bends it back to the inside, weaves his way through traffic, and takes it all the way to the 2. Rodriguez helped him out with a block late and turns into a 26-yard scamper.
Isn't it amazing what a mobile quarterback can do? I mean, they've tried all night to get the Wildcat runs going with Bowden, but all of a sudden you drop him back, 3-step drop from gun, everybody's in coverage, and all of a sudden that's when those lanes open up for a guy that's that athletic.
First and goal, Rodriguez pushes his way in. First touchdown of his career for the freshman from McDonough, Georgia. Well, that was an efficient drive. 5 plays, 84 yards, 2 minutes. Matt Ruffalo, the spicy Italian meatball, that's his nickname, and that's a solid one, and he bangs it through.
Yeah, Bowden looked good, you know, and if this position, who was ever at quarterback, can't complete balls, then what do you need to do? We need a guy that can make plays there without throwing the football, and Bowden can make enough plays with his arms, and then these are the type of plays that really create problems for defenses. You're back in coverage, and you got a guy that essentially a wide receiver running back sitting back there that can find a big lane. And when you do that, that oftentimes opens up the run lanes as well.
How do you get Lynn Bowden ready to be a more complete quarterback?
You find a handful, and by handful I mean about 10 to 12 pass concepts that he's really comfortable with. And you keep him split field reads. And what I mean by that is you make it simple on him pre-snap. Split field read means you got one side that you read if it's zone and one side if it's man. And a lot of times that's dictated by safeties. So Bowden could walk up to the line of scrimmage, go, hey, 2 safeties, looks like zone, I'm reading this side. Or hey, I got press, 1 safety, man, let's work this side. If you can simplify things pre-snap, he's talented enough post-snap to make plays throwing and running.
Looks like they have the hands team out there. Told you about the feature that Kyle Tucker had on him in the Athletic. And the Chinese symbol for death that's tattooed next to his eye. Well, lately, he's changed his tune, especially with the birth of his son. And he's got 2 new tattoos on either sideburn, life and live. Grant McKinnis and Chance Poore are both out there. Number 12 and number 86, couple of kickers. See what they have drawn up. Poore runs past it, and that one goes 10. And Kentucky almost got it, but Shi Smith was able to take it away.
Wow, that's a great job by Shi Smith, because that was a creative onside kick and actually a perfect dribbler. Boy, it's not fun to be on the hands team. Somehow I got talked into it at one point in my career. It's just you're sitting there waiting to get blasted. trying to take a grounder from an oblong ball. It's not fun. Shi Smith does a great job of attacking the football here. You can't sit and wait for it.
Lynn Bowden took a shot. It was Bowden who almost came up with it. I think South Carolina is going to appreciate the week off. They've had 200-yard rushers tonight. There's Mondenson again. They are without Dakereon Joyner, freshman out of North Charleston that played some wide receiver and quarterback. So Jay Urich is the backup quarterback tonight. We'll see. It doesn't look like Urich's going to get a snap, but I was looking forward to seeing him. He was the MVP of the spring game. He was 6 of 8 passing, and he also had 9 catches for 130 yards.
He's a big kid now. He's a big kid, and he can throw it. I'll tell you what, just having the bye next week is so valuable, especially for a young quarterback. This is what, 3 games in for Hilinski?
Yep.
At some point, you don't really have the opportunity to look back. And when you get the season to your young quarterback, as soon as Saturday ends, it's Sunday, it's quick corrections, and it's game planning for next week. You don't really get a chance to press pause.
Timeout, Kentucky.
And go.
That is their second charge timeout of the half. This will be a 30-second timeout.
You don't get a chance to press pause and go, what can I do better? So this is a perfect time to have a week where Hilinski doesn't have to think about a game plan. He can go, what do I need to improve upon? I don't have to game plan this week. I can game plan myself. Figure out how I can fix some things. So an early bye sometimes for a young quarterback is much more valuable than having it later in the season.
With the extended season this year, there's an opportunity for more teams to have 2 open weeks. South Carolina will have their second one the week before Clemson.
Another great opportunity to have.
Yeah.
At that point, he won't need to look back as much as he'll need that extra week to game plan for Clemson. I don't know what I think I'd get bored with 2 buys. Maybe from quarterback. That's coming from a guy that doesn't get hit. All the big guys that get hit every play, they're probably like, oh, I can't wait.
I think you probably could have found some activities to fill your time.
Yeah, maybe.
Go back and watch all those old episodes of Star Search you haven't discovered just yet. Go watch Sinbad making his national television debut. I know you're a big Sinbad fan.
Yeah, Jingle All the Way. One of my favorites.
Another South Carolina first down. They will outgain Kentucky tonight, either at least 388 to 212. Rush for about 250.
What a good feeling for Ryan Hilinski. You got one win under your belt against a team that you expected to win, and now you come into a conference game at home against what we all thought was a really good football team in Kentucky, and you play extremely well. Dominating performance on both sides of the football. That feels good as a young quarterback.
Where else can Kentucky improve outside of offensive efficiency?
I think that's number 1 on their list. I think we started to see them identify a pass rusher and Jamar Watson on the outside, which can really open up what they can do on defense, not having to pressure as much, being able to play a little more sound on that side and trust the athleticism in place of a Josh Allen that they don't have anymore, but they got to fix things on offense. Have to. This was a very surprising performance. I didn't expect this. Got to find out what they can do to be more efficient at the quarterback position, whether it's with Smith or Bowden. Someone's got to do it.
Well, stay tuned. You want to hear what Will Muschamp has to say, because last time we talked to Cole, he said exactly what they were going to do. Go to 12 personnel, run to the nub side. The first time they tried that on the first play, a 30-yard touchdown, it was Katie bar the door.
Still can't believe that happened. He literally told us what he was going to do. Mark Stoops is going to start telling his buddies, hey, listen to these halftime interviews and text me if they say anything important.
Somebody shoot me a note, huh? South Carolina 24, Kentucky 7. Will Muschamp booms down there with Cole.
Coach, based on what had happened with your team coming into tonight, how good does a win feel?
Well, we needed a win. There's no doubt about it. Really proud of our guys, handling a lot of negativity, continue to push through it. It's a dominating performance. Ran the ball offensively, stopped the run on defense, did the things we needed to do to win the game. So I'm really proud of. We had an unbelievable crowd, and I really appreciate our fans.
I think the number one thing that you needed to do, you told me going into halftime, we need to get in 12 personnel, run to the nub side. First play, second half, you get 12 personnel, run to the nub side, score a touchdown. What'd you see?
I just didn't think their numbers were right over there, and from a defensive perspective, I felt like that'd be a good play.
Have you finalized the plan for off week yet?
No, I have not. I mean, we've got a good idea. We need to get better. I know that.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.
First win against Kentucky since 2013 for South Carolina. They snap a 5-game losing streak. The last time they beat them, Connor Shaw was their quarterback. Now it's Ryan Hilinski. And the freshman certainly fits in here in the Palmetto State. Threw for 140, didn't turn it over. He had 2 100-yard rushers behind him in Feaster and Dowdle. And a former Clemson Tiger looks good in a South Carolina uniform.
And this was good to see for South Carolina, running the football aggressively and really just dominating the line of scrimmage. Feaster was physical, finished runs, and that really opened things up for Ryan Hilinski in this offense as a whole.
2 touchdowns for Feaster. He gets the honor of spending time with Cole Kubelik.
Tavian, it's been a while since you had that kind of an opportunity in the game. How'd it feel tonight?
Man, it felt amazing. I prepared all week, and I just came out and executed. Coach was calling my number, and I made plays when plays need to be made.
The coaches told us, complimented you on your patience, that you had been waiting your turn. What was that process like?
It was a hard process. You transfer somewhere, immediately you think you ought to play more, but I got guys in the room that's pushing me every day and helping me become better at the little things and also the big things.
Based on what you saw, because the coaches complimented your vision also tonight, why were you able to have so much success on the ground?
Like I said, I was preparing all week for it, just studying, and I was ready for a big game like this to come out and execute and show everybody what I had.
Tavian, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Tavian Feaster, 1 of 2 100-yard rushers tonight. South Carolina nearly pitched a shutout. They notch a 24-7 victory, and they right the ship. 24-7 our final. Now let's get you to SEC now.